What's up, guys? This is going to be a good one, hopefully a great one that turns into you making a lot of money. And below, you're going to see a document. Below this module training, you're going to see a downloadable document, and it's going to be called the Ultimate Content Creation Cheat Sheet. This is probably one of the most valuable things that I can give you, and in fact, I am going to turn this into a separate product that I'm going to allow other people to buy from me, because this is the holy grail to getting over your excuses for being able to write, especially when you mix AI into the mix. And what I'm going to teach you is going to work with content. It is going to work with short form, long form, you name it. And it's also going to work with ads and emails. Anything that you have to come up with, that is technically content. We want to make creating content as easy as possible. So I've created a framework that originally it started by me analyzing a bunch of the best content creators in the space. Not just my space, just in general, the best content creators that I could find. I started putting together what could I take from them, right? Without taking what they're actually doing. And I created this content creation cheat sheet, and it came down to the majority of it all breaks down to these 5 steps. Now, I believe that if you use this cheat sheet, you will be able to take advantage of my basically content that sells, stories that sell, right? However you want to use it, you're going to be able to take things that are just in your phone, and I'm going to describe some examples of it here. This is great for recording verbally, making video, and it's also great for taking an image and turning that into an ad, whatever it is that you want to sell. It's actually really easy to do when you have this cheat sheet. So let's break it down. First, I give you a framework of how you're going to actually write the ad, email, and or piece of content. Everything starts with a hook. And if I could give you one piece of advice right now, it would be spend way more time on the hook than all of the rest of it. The hook is the single most important factor. And I believe there's really 2 styles of hooks. There is a hook that captures your attention, and then there's a hook that keeps you till the end. A hook that keeps somebody to the end is a really good hook. Mr. Beast is phenomenal at this. I put 500 people in a room and they can't leave their spot until, blah, blah, blah. Or they, last person standing, there was one that he did that was he put somebody's hand on a private jet, and the last person with their hand on the private jet, there was 10 of them, gets to take the jet wherever they want or something. And that's a great hook because right away, here's what this video is going to all be about, and you're not going to get a resolution until the end. That's all it is. Literally all it is. So his hooks are hooks that hook you till the end. I think right now we've got a problem in social media. Too many people are teaching you how to just hook immediately. If you're a coach in the digital space looking to make $10,000 a month, you need to hear what I have to say. They think saying stuff like that, calling out your audience, that they consider that a hook. I think these are lazy hooks. I think that is the 2012 version of a hook. It's not the 2025 version. I could go on for days about that. What you really want to focus on is how can I make my hook something that hopefully hooks them until the end. If not, you can use these sort of more basic hooks that at least capture their attention and get somebody curious. Hook, 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 hook. Come up with a bunch of different hooks and then write ads based on that. And I'm going to give you some examples of where you can come up with hooks based on the things I'm going to share later in this document. Next up is background. So once you've actually hooked somebody, you go into the background of that thing. And I'm going to break down an example here in a second of one to kind of go into depth about all of these, but I just want to lay out the 5 framework. Hook, background, conflict. So you're okay, I'm going to break down this story. Here's my hook. And then here's how I got into this situation. Here's the bad thing that happened, right? Here's what my odds were stacked against me, right? So that you're creating drama and then resolution. I was able to figure my way out of it, and things were great. And now look at what I've done. Now, if you're making content, you're going to stop at those 4 parts. Most good content does not need to have a call to action. I would say In here I talk about 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of every 6 posts that you make should have a call to action. I don't want to have a call to action on every single post because it just gets like post comment fatigue from what I'm seeing. And maybe it's an opinion, but it looks to me like if you had a call to action in every one, it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like you're providing real value anymore. It just feels like you just want me to comment so you can make money off of me. I don't know that I love that. So the last step is the call to action. This is where you're actually saying to somebody, hey, click the link or comment below. And so this is your 5-step framework for making anything you want, an email, an ad, whatever it is, right? So an email could easily be the hook. That's going to be your subject line. And then you're going to talk about it a little bit in the first section of the email. But subject line is something crazy. I can't believe this happened, right? Hooking them. They open the email, and now you say, I would have never in a million years imagined that this finally happened, but something crazy happened over the weekend, and I had to tell you about it. That's your hook. Background. I've been trying to make money online for a long period of time. I've tried everything in the world, and I don't have a background in the internet space, so I wasn't having much luck. Then conflict. I tried these 5 different programs. Everything actually failed for me for a long time. I was not successful. Resolution. I finally figured out something that could actually work for me. This weekend, I was able to make 5 sales. Then call to action. If you want to see what it is, click the link below. That's a bad version, but you understand where I'm going with that. They all follow that process. Now, it's actually just an elongated version of a copywriting formula that's very popular called PAS, or Problem, Agitate, Solution. That's kind of what this is, right? So background, what's the problem? Agitate, conflict, like we're here. Here's what the problem is, making it worse, right? And then solution or resolution. Similar idea. So you also have, some people have called this hook, story, offer. So hook, and then a story is made up of a background, a conflict, and a resolution, and then an offer is a call to action. There's a couple of different ways you do it. I like breaking it down into these 5 ways because it's just easier to remember each section. If somebody says, story, tell a story, it's like, well, how do you tell a story? Well, you do it like that. So here's how we actually use all of those things. So you should definitely read all of this, but let's give some examples. So this is a charity or a giving story. Now, I used this in one of my old offers, and it was actually a really great email. I don't want to talk about this one just yet. I'll let you guys read through that. I want to talk more about, you could definitely use testimonials. I want to give you guys an example of this one, a reward story. So, again, you can see these are all different story types. So a testimonial, a charity or a giving story. So that's a story that leaves the customer feeling assured and grounded and that their decision to buy from you is going to a good place. So you can tell them, hey, this is, what we're doing. We do this with some of our money. So one of the stories that I kind of talked about before, and this is true, is we give 10% of our income every year to a charity that we started, a 501c3 that we actually started, where 100% of the money that goes to that charity actually goes to cancer patients. Not just helping them get outside of Western medicine, which is kind of a negative thing, but we also help them by the people who are going through normal cancer treatment, by giving them healthy food, by going to the hospitals and doing all this kind of stuff. So all of the money, we don't take a dime from it. No salaries are paid out. And so I tell that story to people to let them know, like, hey, this is where some of that money is going. Then testimonial. I want to kind of talk about this one to give you a real example. A reward story. So you're sitting at your desk, you're at home, you're like, Travis, I want to make an ad. I just don't know what to talk about. Okay, so read through these stories and you get to a reward story. And you're like, okay, this is a time that you got a reward for what it was that you were doing. You want the customer to feel an elevation in status. So if they follow certain steps that you share, there is a reward on the other side. So in my case, I would talk about in a reward story, and this is, again, I have like ad examples, but then I also have content examples. This content example it would make a great ad, and this is true. So the hook would be, I bought a $2,000 bottle of champagne to celebrate this, and I might even say, and I don't even plan on drinking it. Let me explain. There's a really interesting hook. Like, why would you buy a $2,000 bottle of champagne that you don't even plan on drinking? So then I go into the background. I've been in business for 14 years. Running my own online companies, I found that the big wins don't always come around. Typically, you can expect around one great thing to happen every single year. So that's my background in all of this. So it's like I'm giving them a little bit of my authority as well by saying I've been doing this for 14 years. Now, conflict. But I'm usually so busy moving on with my business that I don't take time to celebrate the big win. And the next thing I know, it's back to the cold season. And you can really lean on that pain, right? And to be honest, I just realized that in business, most of the time you're just putting out fires. It's kind of annoying. There's not that much to be happy about in the daily grind, so to speak. Then resolution. So I decided from now on, when I have a record month, a record week, or a record day, I'm going to buy my favorite bottle of champagne, a bottle of Krug Clos de Messeline, which runs around $500 to $2,000 a bottle, depending on the bottle. The reason I'm buying it is to actually commemorate and to celebrate those good moments. And so when I had a $200,000 day, we made about $204,000 in a single day. I went out and spent $2,000 of that on a bottle of Clos de Messeline, and I still have it. No, I have not drank it. And I do that so that every time I look at that bottle, which is an expensive bottle, don't get me wrong. Like I look at it and I go, this is crazy. But every single time I look at it, I remember the fact that the reason I have it is because I did $200,000 in a day. And so it's almost like a constant re-celebration. Now, the reason I tell you that story is because I want to help you get a bottle of your own, right? Or whatever it is that you want to spend money on when you have big moments. So again, I could then transition that into a call to action. In this example, there's no call to action. I could just add one easily. If you want to see what I'm doing in my business that let me generate $200,000 in a single day, I'm going to break down the entire thing. Not just the $200,000 day, but everything I did leading up to that actually allowed me to make that happen. Because I'll tell you, it didn't all just happen in one day. Yes, I made all that money in one day, but a lot of what happened actually took place for the 6 months prior to that day taking place. So I want to break it all down for you. Click the link where you see it and I'll show you. Could lead them to a training where I talk about that, and then I sell them a product that teaches them those things. So a victory story. So again, what I want you guys to understand is not so much my stories. It's more so how I'm using them to create content that I could use as an ad, right? So if I have a blank slate and I don't know what to do, I just go to this and I go, okay, I'll tell a victory story. This plays on people's desires and dreams. It's similar to the reward story. However, there is a battle aspect of overcoming something difficult. This is a big one. So you want them to feel like there was a victory that was had. And a lot of people tell these stories, right? That's one of the main ways that you can do it. But I had become my worst nightmare. I spent over 2 years trying to make money by myself. I tried building 3 different e-commerce stores, tried cold calling, tried running an agency. All of it just made me upset. I kept trying because that's what I do. I finally got myself together, got access to a training that laid it all out step-by-step fashion, and finally I made my first money online, and I've been consistent ever since. I want to spread the love to anybody else who's an optimist. I want to spread the love to anybody else who wants to finally make it happen. This is the thing that made it happen for me. I'd love to show you. Hit the link where you see it, and I'll tell you more. And that sends them over to the training that you're going to be talking about. So you see how this naturally kind of flows? And what's great is you don't have to do video for any of these. I can have 13 different ad types just by doing one story each. Now, again, you can have as many stories as you want. You can have 10 victory stories. But if you just did one of each, you'd have 13 different stories. You take an image from your phone that relates to a part of your story, right? Maybe this one, it's like I had become my worst nightmare. Maybe it's a picture of me with like my head in my hands like this, and it's just, that's a picture of me, right? Or maybe it's a picture of me, I don't know, doing something along these lines. Obviously, these are also going to work as reels, right? Record yourself saying, this is hard for me to talk about, but recently I realized that I had become my worst nightmare. Like I was a massive failure. And then you go into the entire thing. Now, look, let me tell you the whole story here. I spent over 2 years trying to make money online by myself so that I could get the money in order, in line, so that I could actually quit my job and live a life and not just clock in and clock out for the next 40 years of my life. I wanted to live it. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to be around when my kids needed me around. I wanted to be able to pick them up whenever I want from school. Like you dig, right? So this versus that. You want to compare one situation versus another, with one of them being the better of the two obvious options, right? So a this versus that. Let me see if there's an ad. No, there's not. This versus that for an ad would be easy. So it does say ad copy. This was me before I understood anything about making money on the internet. At the time, I was working as an accountant, and if you had told me I could make money online, I would have told you you're absolutely nuts. It's a scam. Get away from me. But I had my eyes open when I saw so many others succeeding online. You can kind of see where that goes. And eventually, I was able to get my act right, and then from there, I was able to make money, and I'll show you how. So I love before and afters. I love this and that. I love the red versus blue pill concept. Like, if you do this, this is where you go. If you do that, that's where you end up. I saw a guy who was running a picture of two kids. One kid was like, looked really sad. They had a little red down arrow, and it said before, and it had like an X, and then it said after, and it was a kid like happy, and he was like reading a book, or he was like sitting in a lemonade stand or something. And the first kid was playing a video game, and he looked miserable on like a Nintendo Switch. The second kid was sitting at a lemonade stand making money, taking money for somebody, and it was teaching parents how to make their kids more entrepreneurial. And it's a great product, and it's a great image that then shows that. Red pill, kid plays video games, mind rot, it's not good for him. Blue pill, goes the right way. So then we have the adventure story. So again, we're all kind of on our own adventures. So showcase how the reward outweighs the risk. You want to talk about, look, I get it. There's, a lot that could go wrong. But look at what happened when I took the risk, right? It's an adventure. You're going to play on people's adrenaline. They're like, you know what? Yeah, I want that. And we do it. I can do it with my travel story, because we sold everything and traveled the world for a year. My wife and I sold our house and everything in it. Here's why. As you likely know, I run a digital business, which gives me the ability to work from anywhere. So when the conversation came up that we wanted to give our kids a better life, that didn't include 30-minute drives to school and picking her up and taking her back from school and sitting in a desk all day, we had options. But selling everything and traveling meant that we had no home. And that'd make us bad parents, right? No stability, no normal schedule. Their friends would change a lot. I mean, there was all these negatives that came up. But one day we finally made the decision. We just did it. And our kids are thriving. And then I could, if you want to see how I was able to do that. So again, all these have these great potential call to actions. A regret story. People don't like regret. So anytime you could get into, let me get this straight. You aren't willing to part with $97 to watch a 1-hour training to learn how to make $100 a day without having to run ads or build websites or call anybody on the phone. But in a month's time from now, when everything is more expensive and the bills continue to come, you're going to say, I need to make more. You would have been making money in my program by now, but you chose not to do it because an hour and a half and $97. And there's something else holding you back. If there's something else holding you back, DM me and we can talk about it. That could literally be an ad. With that same exact idea. Don't regret this negative decision in the future, right? If I could go back and tell my 25-year-old self one thing, this would be it. Let's ignore the obvious, what stocks to buy, and buy Bitcoin and sell it at 60,000. I've always regretted that, but I didn't do this one thing. I've always regretted that I didn't do this one thing. When I was 25 years old, I had started my business, but I wasn't really focused like I am now. I didn't have anything to lose, so very little motivation on a daily basis. So I ended up not really seeing the success I could have had I known this one thing I know. If I could talk to my 25-year-old self, I would tell myself to focus more on building my audience and growing my list. At 38 years old, I now realize that it's the single most important thing that I can do. But then I wasn't doing any of that, so I missed all of the easy growth on Instagram and Facebook. If you don't want to miss out on the easy growth right now going on with Facebook and Instagram, click the link below. I'll show you exactly what to do to build your email list right now. So see, it all immediately just translates right into your call to action. A Meet the Guru story. This is a great one. So anytime you've been around somebody that like they said something and it kind of changed your perspective on things, and yes, you can take some liberties here, like, oh, he said this and it didn't really change my perspective, but now that I think about it, so a historical story. This relates something new to something old, which allows your audience to resonate with you and brings a sense of, I was there too. And an example of this would be, we all remember where we were on 9/11, right? If you can call out something that, maybe you talk about like you have a picture of an old cell phone and it's like, this was new technology 25 years ago. And if you were around, you would know what this was. Or maybe it's a Walkman and you're like, half the people in our new generation don't even know what this is. Things that you can do that you translate something old to something new. A plan B story. This makes people feel more secure in you, even if things don't pan out. And this is a time when you had to claim victory from a plan B event, right? Find a picture of somebody falling off a ladder or a video of somebody falling off the ladder to use as your intro for the hook. And you would say, yep, that's what it felt like. I was completely off guard, completely slipped and fell on my ass, and I wasn't expecting it. Then you insert how you came back from those mistakes. I made mistakes. I made some errors, but I made it back into the realm of being able to pull it off. And now I make over $2,000 per month by doing X. With those mistakes, I learned blank X, Y, and Z. Grab my PDF now to learn what I learned so you don't have to make the same mistakes. A hook here would be getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I've actually been told that recently by some of the members in our program. They weren't taking action. They got fired, lost their job, and then they started taking action, and now they make more money. And they were just sitting on it the whole time. A morality story. This is going to get people to trust you. Share about a time that you did the right thing, even when the outcome did not necessarily benefit you. So you can see ad copy. $5,000 a month. Amazing, right? Look, I want to be honest with you. I could be making up to $5,000 a month right now doing XYZ if I was out there being sleazy with my sales, overworking myself, and doing all the stuff that I tell people not to do. Yes, I would make 100% more money, but it wouldn't be the right thing to do. I want to make sure that everybody who ends up buying anything from me feels justified and 100% happy about the purchase. If you're on the fence about X, just know that my team and I go above and beyond, blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of go with like, again, I have morals, so I don't do what the other people do. The other people over there are doing these negative things. I don't want to do that. Easy story. If I could make a lot more money if I did what the other gurus are doing, would be your hook. An ability story, sharing how you or somebody else got results with limited or no resources. I love this one because this is one of the ones that eliminates a lot of excuses. I want to tell you a story about how I was able to lose 30 pounds without access to a gym during COVID. Boom, right? An ability story. You didn't have something, but you still made it happen. And then an origin story. This is usually called a hero's journey, but you can see... example hooks. I was at rock bottom. I spent all my money that I could on my last leg. This is my last ditch effort. I was going to stop at nothing to make sure. And there is a nice little outline of an origin story. So what you can actually do, especially any of you guys watching this that grabbed Poppy, because that's in my opinion, there's no other AI that I use right now. I use ChatGPT a little when I need a quick summary of something. But if I am going to have it create, I use Poppy. And what I would do is I would literally take this PDF. I would throw it in Poppy as a document. It now has all this information, so you don't even have to study it and learn it. And you go, I want to make one ad per story that is in Travis's cheat sheet. Can you please help me? Here's all my information about my product. Here's information about my story. Here's my hero's journey. Here's a couple of different examples. Let's make some ads. And if you don't have the information that you need, please prompt me to tell you, ask me the questions that I would need to extract this from me, right? Every single one of these that you're going to get, this is 13 stories, right? Every single one of them can be an email that you send to your list. Every one of them can be a piece of content that you post on social media. And every single one of them can be an ad that you run, whether it's an image or a short form piece of video content. So I don't want to spend as much time talking about it as I do you using it. And the great news is now that we have all these in documents, and one of the things that I'm going to do with all my programs moving forward is I want to have documents that you can upload to platforms like Poppy so you can teach the AI and have the AI do the heavy lifting for you. That should be how we end up learning in the future. If we're smart and we're on the cutting edge, we don't actually spend as much time studying this document. This document's 30 pages, 36 pages. I do want you to read it. I want you to know it at least once, but then I want you to feed that into ChatGPT and then have it implement for you. Within 15 to 20 minutes, you can have 5 to 10 of your first stories and your first ad ready to go almost immediately. And if you do end up signing up for Poppy, especially after this video, if you sign up after Poppy, there's going to be a link below where you can do that. Number one, it's the same price as ChatGPT. I think it's $4 more a month. You just pay for the year. So if you sign up for Poppy, I will give you a board that already has this in it and some example ads that we're going to be running. So just an example for you. I'm going to be using this exact same thing to create ads for myself. I'll record that process and I'll make the board that I end up making in that process available for everybody. But this is my stories that sell method. 13 different stories. Use the 5-step framework. Hook, background, conflict, resolution, call to action. Use that in your copy. Use that in the video. You will start getting action. You will start getting clicks over to your offer. It makes ad writing easy. It makes email writing easy. It makes general content creation easy. And it's all in just 38 pages that you can now teach AI. So go use this. We'll see you guys in the next one.